Established in 2000, beginning with PVC shoes, Cameo has grown into a trusted brand, offering a wide range of products including school shoes, sports shoes, and PU slippers. Renowned for its comfort, durability, and affordability, Cameo continues to set new benchmarks in the footwear industry.
With a strong presence across cities and states, Sai Polymers is focused on expanding its reach pan-India and globally, delivering exceptional footwear for every need. Under the visionary leadership of Mr. Santosh Sahibani and Mr. Darpan Sahibani. Respected Registrar, Unity University, Madhya Pradesh, Dr. Rajesh Jain, our esteemed chief guest, Ashurani, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University, our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay, Managing Director, India and Middle East. And Dr. Muhammad Anwar. I, Raji Tomar, welcome you to the Valedictory session of the International BHARAT, role of Indian business.
Students in the balcony are requested to come downstairs. Balcony students, can you hear me? Balcony students, please come downstairs, everyone. Down. नीचे. ऊपर का शो नहीं है अभी. Please come down. Do we have MBA volunteers with us? MBA third semester volunteers? Vinay, Raman, Yogesh, anyone? Krishna? Can you hear me? Krishna, उसको बंद करवा दे. सारे बच्चों को नीचे लेते हैं. Right, done. Okay, thank you.
जैसे गेस्ट आएंगे ना, ओके करेंगे, ऐसे कर देंगे. हो सकता है मैम, अभी तो आई नहीं ना आशु रानी मैम, आई नहीं है ना, आशु रानी मैम नहीं देखो, आई तब बोलिए. तो कब है आपके पास सबसे शुरू में नहीं करेंगे. फेलिसिटेशन में मैम, अब फेलिसिटेशन में भी आशु मैम का नाम अभी नहीं लेते. पहले सर का करें. आप जितनी उतनी दीजिए, हम लोग मैनेज करेंगे. नहीं, राजीव सर वाले में नहीं. दीपिका मैम, अब आप और जब आशु रानी मैम आ जाएंगे, ऊपर बिठा देंगे.
आधी क्यों लेके आओ? एक दो मेरे को 25 पीस. 25 है.
अब जब वो आ जाएगा ना, कि कौन मिलेगा तो उनका
उनको ना ऑर्डर में लेके आना आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑर्डर नंबर
जब वो आ जाए, जैसे ही आप ठीक देख याद है. और भी चेंज नहीं होगा, फेलिसिटेशन सेम ही रहेगा, सब कुछ सेम ही रहेगा.
आधी. ठीक है. 4:30. हाँ, 4:30 पौने 5. हाँ. बस ये कि पौने 5 से देर, पौने 5 तक लग जाए. Dear students, we'll request you to kindly settle down. I would request the faculty coordinators also to kindly help the students settle down, right? And we thank you for your support in the morning. You have shown a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of participation, a lot of patience. Thank you so much. We expect the same during this session also for making ABS International Conference very, very successful. Thank you so much. And would request to call your friends also who are outside so that all the seats can be occupied. Kindly call your friends also. Thank you so much. Dear students, once again, I'll request you, आपके बहुत सारे friends बाहर होंगे या इधर उधर cafeterias में होंगे. Kindly call them, request them that we have requested everyone to come back, right? And we once again thank you for your continuous support. Thank you. So ABS students, once again, I'll request you that call your friends so that we can occupy all the downstairs seats. And you have been very, very supportive in the morning. We thank you for your support for making the conference very, very successful. Thank you so much. Once again, I'll request you अपने friends को please call करके बुला लीजिए. हम लोग 5 मिनट 10 मिनट के अंदर प्रोग्राम शुरू कर रहे हैं. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mumbai Cartoon. Thank you, Mumbai, or now we. पूरा ही करना पड़ेगा. Now तो.
Pleasure introducing our guest of honor. But now to it gives us great pleasure in introducing the guest of honor.
डायरेक्टली इसके बाद ही तुमको ब्रेक मिलेगा तो आप अपने हिसाब से देख लो जो आपको अच्छा लग रहा है. Now.
Stage one.
मेरा मन होता तो अभी मत बोल, मैं अपना याद रख ले। Maintain silence.
I request everyone to please maintain silence.
Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone is requested to occupy their seats and put their mobile phones on silent.
एक बात सुनो, पता है ना आशुरा दी मम्मी का बोल कौन रहा था? तुम्हें याद रखना है, हम तुम्हें बता देंगे। तब तुम ऐसे शुरू करें, ऐसे शुरू करें। अरे मैं इसको बोल रहा मैं तो नहीं पहन नहीं दिख रही। बाकी तो मेरी क्लास में तो मुझे कोई नहीं दिख रहा।
Businesses in India are not only the engines of economic growth, but also catalysts for societal transformation. From creating jobs to promoting innovations, Indian businesses play a pivotal role in shaping a VIKSIT Bharat, a developed, self-reliant India.
The Indian businesses bridge urban and rural divides, encourage digital transformation, and aid to global competitiveness while maintaining the unique values that define our nation. And that's what we have witnessed today. Through insightful dialogues and expert perspectives on how Indian businesses can drive the vision of a Viksit Bharat. Each speaker and session has added depth to our understanding of this mission.
A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to our Honorable Chairman and Chancellor, MIT University, Madhya Pradesh, Dr. Aseem Chauhan, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. R.S. Tomar, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Research and Dean Research, Professor Dr. M.P. Kaushik, respected HOI, MIT Business School, Professor Dr. Deepika Singh Tomar, respected Registrar, MIT University, Madhya Pradesh, Dr. Rajesh Jain, our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay, Managing Director, India and Middle East at Brickpoint Limited, Professor Arhan Stapit, Professor and Dean, Faculty of Management and Law, Nepal Open University, Nepal, and Dr. Muhammad Anwarul Kabir, former Vice Chancellor in State University of Bangladesh. I would also like to welcome all the HOIs, HODs, faculties, research scholars, and fellow students. I, Prachi Tomar,
And I, Shaurya Pratap Singh,
we welcome you to the valedictory session of this international conference on Viksit Bharat, Role of Indian Business.
To mark the beginning of the valedictory session, I would request honorable dignitaries to kindly felicitate our esteemed guests for today's conference with Tulsi sapling, also known as holy basil, symbolizing purity, prosperity, and auspiciousness. At first, I humbly request Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. R.S. Tomar, to felicitate our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay, Managing Director, India and Middle East at Brickpoint Limited. Mr. Pankaj, sir, please accept our token of appreciation. Thank you, sir.
We now urge our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Research, Professor Dr. M.P. Kaushik, to felicitate our esteemed guest of honor, Professor Arhan Stapit, Professor and Dean, Faculty of Management and Law, Nepal Open University, Nepal. Professor Stapit, please accept our gesture of appreciation. Thank you, sir.
We are delighted to convey our warmest regards to our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Muhammad Anwarul Kabir, former Vice Chancellor in State University of Bangladesh, joining us through the virtual platform. Sir, please accept our due felicitations.
It gives us great honor in introducing our guest of honor, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay. Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay is Managing Director, India and Middle East at Brickpoint Limited. He holds his Master's in Business from the University of Oxford, receiving the Dean's List Award for Academic Excellence. Intensely passionate about social transformation and development, he brings extensive experience across transformative technologies, clean energy, and complex multi-stakeholder initiatives. Harmonizing his background in engineering, business, and policy, he is currently engaged in harnessing the power of innovation and responsible investment to deliver social impact. A keen debater and public speaker, Mr. Pankaj has always sought to align advocacy and action to steer emotional energies towards overachieving goals. May we request you to kindly take the podium and enlighten us with your thoughts on today's theme, sir.
Good afternoon. Are we all energized or totally exhausted after the excesses of the morning session? I don't expect you to be polite. I know the answer already. I'm just attempting to engage you. So the following lines are not from Hindi. So I don't want you to be otherwise amused, alarmed, or otherwise offended. Comandante no hay camino, It's not a play on words. Comandante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Al andar se hace el camino. Pathmaker. There is no path. Pathmaker. There is no path. We make the path by walking. By walking, we make the path. The mobilizing clarion call of the Prime Minister of our nation to attempt to attain VIKSIT Bharat by 2047 serves to invite our collective and individual attentions to focus our energies and leverage our collective might in the hope of accomplishing that aspiration. But the path before us is not a given. Anyone who tells you that he or she has a handle on the future, that they have the inevitable outcomes completely cornered, they are either delusional at best or deceitful at worst, and certainly in denial. There is almost an ontological uncertainty about the world. I know we are in the world of academia. Our purpose is to equip you with the tools, the frameworks, and the vision, and the animating passions to go out and accomplish the big deeds, and hopefully change the world in the process. But this occasion should also call for a reflection on the kind of tools we are offering you, whether they really do equip you for the challenge at hand. The purpose of academia is to give you the power of analysis, of understanding. But the question is at the same time, we need to also concede in the spirit of intellectual honesty as to the limitations of our current understanding. This is not to completely disregard the accomplished wisdom of humanity till now, but it is to concede the limitations of our understanding and to create a platform from which to really perform further work of understanding and insight. I still remember in 2008, when the world was besieged by financial crisis out of the excesses of the financial system. I sat in the dining hall in Oxford along with a very dear friend, a brother really, who's recently left the world of academia in England to join as a faculty member at IIM Udaipur. And we were sitting with one of the kindest faculty members I've ever come across, Mark Ventresca. He's an economic sociologist. And as we attempted to really understand as to the forces that were afoot, he very gently directed us to a book by the sociologist, the economic sociologist, Donald McKinsey. The title descriptively read, "An engine, not a camera." What it meant was that the financial models coming out of the financial and economic theory, they really determinately direct the behavior and the outcomes of the financial world. So which means that the theory the world of academia teaches you, it is going to fundamentally drive your behavior as you go out and enact your visions and your virtues in the market. Which means the theories and the frameworks we offer you here are the engines of inquiry. And they're not a camera to simply reproduce empirical facts. But the problem is, what happens when that theory is divorced from reality? The question is, I invite you as cartographers of meaning, and we are nothing as humans, if not meaning-making species. Envision a world of our related primates, the chimp community. And why I kind of really remember this example is I recently read David Attenborough, the wonderful, the accomplished, acclaimed environmentalist, as having said that economics as a science holds an inordinate influence on our individual and collective destinies. So what happens when a chimp tribe is besieged by forces beyond its comprehension? storms, thunders, what it does, they flail around sticks, throw stones. I would like to imagine with just 1% of genetic difference, I don't expect our responses to be dramatically different, definitely somewhat more muted. They're trying to really comprehend the forces which are quite incomprehensible to them. And that is the individual and collective task in front of us, and which is exactly the world of academia tries out to do. And if you really look at map makers, what they try and accomplish is reduce the complexity of the world in a somewhat intelligible way. But if it attempts to reproduce the same complexity, a map serves no purpose. But by the same token, if it is so simplistic as to completely disregard the richness of the terrain, it serves no purpose even then. But the problem happens when we really try and start out with a governing premise that there's not much of a fidelity with the world out there. What happened in the world of academia is that economics and social sciences deluded themselves in the belief that we would like to fashion ourselves on the lines of the queen of sciences, physics, and that too, Newtonian mechanics. Now, if anybody, physics is one of the subjects that interests me the most. If anybody has a deep association with physics, they would realize that physics itself has moved away from its assurances and its certitudes. So what happens? By the same token, economics in the world of business continue to possibly tread the path on the lines of almost Darwinian survival of the fittest. Now, I don't expect you to be your brother's keepers. I'm not invoking a revolution on socialist lines. But by the same token, a dog-eat-dog world of business, commerce, and economics is a certain path for mutually assured destruction. Now, what really happens if you really think about it, Akerlof, in his Nobel Prize speech, he's a celebrated economist, and he said that what the folly we do in economics, and if I don't know if you have an economics faculty member, I'm sure as students of management, you are taught macroeconomics, and financial theory. These are one of the core foundational subjects. Ayush was with me in the morning. He was entrusted the task of assisting me. And when I asked about his vision, he said he wants to go into the world of finance. And he marches into the battle, into the financial world with the tools you are equipping him with. Now, what really happens is, if you completely remove the cognitive biases, the herding behavior, the norms that coerce us, that dictate our behavior, you are reducing the richness of the human form into an automated specimen. Wonderful as the promises of socialism were, the folly, the fundamental folly underlying it was that it reduced man to machine, which is exactly what happens when a psychologist is awarded a Nobel Prize for economics. Daniel Kahneman, Pooja-ji, I reckon your exploration is in the world of behavioral finance. So Kahneman insists that we are not equations that compute. And which is, if you really think about it, I'm kind of really perplexed. Capitalism accords the utmost respect and dignity to human freedom, to the human richness, to the varieties of our individual expressions. But the folly of its economic framework is it reduces that richness to utter simplicity. What really happens in economics, if you really dig a little deeper, beyond the ornate financial models, the overwrought theories, what really happens? So it says that almost even the macroeconomic indicators and outcomes are assumed to be aggregate consequences of the optimizing behavior of a rationally representative event. What that means is they'll assume that human behavior is fundamentally rational, and we all work with an almost a preordained calculus of utmost certitude. And which is exactly, and I was in UK at that point in time at the height of financial crisis. And Her Majesty the Queen, that's how my English friends address her indulgently, and I don't hold it against them. So she was called upon to address a gathering at London School of Economics. And she very innocently turned around to the assembled conclave of economists and asked, did you guys not see any of this coming? It's a simple question that unnerved the collective wisdom of established sovereigns of economic trade. So Tim Hennessy, an economist, he wrote to her and said, yes, ma'am, we do concede that the failure to see the severity, the extent, and the span of the crisis is a failure of collective imagination. But if you care to reflect, why did that failure of collective imagination occur? Because the models that are parlayed out in the economics textbooks were not serving the purpose to capture the reality out there. So you've got to realize what and how do we equip our students in this climate of bewilderment. Fatalism is not an option in the world of academia, but at the same time, conceit ought not to be the defining feature either. We need to accept what we do not know and come together to attempt to unravel the mysteries yet to be explored. And if we really look at it, because the idea is VIKSIT Bharat, and one of the people I've had the immense and immeasurable pleasure of knowing is Ian Goldin, the director of the James Martin School at Oxford. I've had the privilege of sitting alongside him in spinning classes in the gym. He was a World Bank vice president, the chief economist of the African Development Bank, and the economic advisor to Nelson Mandela. He's written a number of books about development. So the age of the city being the recent one, he says how the city ought to be the place where future battles of humanity will be played, won, or lost. How they are the flourishing centers of innovations and startups, how they invite collective innovative energies and summon human creativity to accomplish what needs to be done. He also talks about the age of second Renaissance. Renaissance, as we know, was the ferment of intellectual climate in Europe, where the best ideas suddenly exploded through intellectual exchanges, trade, and immigration. He says that we are at the cusp of almost a second Renaissance, but we've got to also realize that free trade and Renaissance also created a lot of disaffection. So we live in an era of capitalist free trade. It creates its shares of losers and winners. It creates its heightens inequalities. Some of the speakers insisted in the morning that equity ought to be included, inclusive, sustainable, growth, innovation-led. These are the buzzwords currently doing rounds in the intellectual and policy corridors. So we've also got to realize that Renaissance ended in tears because there was a moral outrage at all the inequities that were unleashed. So the Dominican, nearly 5 centuries ago, the Dominican friar, Girolamo Savonarola, the Italian, he asked his acolytes to assemble all the academic texts and the artifacts bearing some kind of symbolic association with Renaissance and burn them as the symbols of oppression and inequity. It's commonly known as the bonfire of vanities. And it's the same vanity of our elites and intellectual people, which is inviting the wrath of populist upsurge across Europe, across other countries. It led to Brexit. It's led to so many things. The idea is, in our capacity, we are almost in our capacity as leaders, academic or otherwise, we are custodians. We are custodians of our collective conscience. I still remember sitting, I'm in an auditorium, and I remember sitting in the Nelson Mandela Theatre in Oxford, and we had one of the most impressive people I've had the pleasure of meeting, Dr. Kimberly Clark, who was a celebrated dean of Harvard Business School. And I'm left with that one lasting line: Harvard Business School is possibly the bastion of the alpha type of leadership influence, you know, where people reach the apex of their careers in a self-serving pursuit with a monomania of self-belief and performance and self-accomplishment. And he said, leadership invariably and everywhere is essentially a moral act. You are leaders in academic capacity. There are social leaders, of course, and you are leaders too in your individual communities. It's a moral act. You're custodians of conscience. Be honest to your trade. Don't parade your conceits as certitudes, as cosmic certitudes, and which is what will happen, you know. So now coming to the particulars from a generic philosophical reflection about the issues, VIKSIT Bharat presupposes certain economic attainments. Now, if I look at the per capita income of India, it's currently around, say, approximately $2,500 per annum. Contrast that with China in excess of 13,000. Of course, India has recently, it's been that mark of relief, the beacon of possibility in an otherwise dispiriting economic climate. We've grown in the range of 6 to 7%. For the first time in 21, the growth rate of India exceeded that of China. There are certain fundamentals, economic fundamentals in China, which are being called into questions. The social ones have always been questioned and debated. But what we need to realize, if we wish to attain the developed status by 2047, it is incumbent upon us as a nation to grow from now until then at the rate of 9% in 3 decades. Now, I can be drunk here and rhetorical enough to suggest that it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to be VIKSIT Bharat by 2047. But then I'm guilty of the same conceits I'm calling into question. 9% growth rate in a current climate is not an improbability, but it's a tall ask. And to do it year after year over 3 decades is difficult still. Yes, there are things going for us. The demographic dividend, as its virtues are extolled when we have a very young working force. But to embrace the promises of globalization in the modern world presupposes certain intellectual attainments, certain competencies. Do we have those competencies? Are our institutions equipping people with those competencies? Do we have a roadmap to inculcate those competencies? Can they be even inculcated? So those are the challenges. The labor markets need to be addressed. The path in the passage. So I don't know if in this Dr. Kaushik was remarking about the inexorable burden of the distracted world in these times, because I have a perverse relationship with how my sessions are scheduled in Amity. Dr. Kaushik invited me about 8 years ago for a faculty development program. Dr. Bajpayee, if some of the old faculty members might recollect, used to look after that. He scheduled my session right after lunch. And lo and behold, somehow cosmic forces have conspired to put my session just after lunch, which is the most difficult slot. So, how do we really go about that? There is a reason China became the workshop of the world. The workshop of the world required their workers to have a certain basic level of attainments, certain level of skill sets. Yes, of course, invariably, the innovation literature is rife and replete with examples. We start from the bottom of the ladder in innovation, and then we gradually progress. But even starting at that bottom level of global promise requires certain level of competences. We simply did not possess them that. What gives us the assurance, the conviction that we'll have those attainments ready and in ample measure to embrace those promises? By the same token, of course, I mean, Raghuram Rajan, he has a bone to pick with the current leadership, but you can't question his academic and intellectual credentials. And he talks about how India has a very small window in which to grow rich before it starts growing old. And he has some reservations, and there are an area of economists who suggest that manufacturing and make in India might not be the way to go, that services would still be India's best bet. And he suggests that if you really look at the recent happenings in the market, most of the big companies are setting up their global capability centers in India. When the intellectual competence of youngsters such as you then goes on to be embedded in the products and promises which are traded globally, those would be our best bet. But then by the same tradition, by the same token, again, this is drawing largely from the current dogma of neoclassical economics. There are certain other factors as well which dictate policy choices. Not merely the virtues of comparative trade, the dominant ethos that's driven the expression of economy till now. National security for fun. I mean, pandemic has really forced us to rethink the resiliency of our supply chains. Sustainability is really calling into question the merit of outsourcing dirty production elsewhere to distant shores. And then there are other things, of course. The inescapable burdens of security. Dr. Kaushik has worked for long in DRDO. He'll tell you a lot about innovation. And that's essentially, and that why I really bring up this is military has driven association in that beacon of promise, the land of promise and innovation, the bastion of innovation, the frontier innovation economy of the US. If you really care to reflect about that, it's military projects, military compulsions that drove a variety of their innovations. DARPA, their Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. It's really been fundamental and instrumental in driving innovation. All of that is really lost out. And if we choose to focus only on the virtues and the merits of business, we are then again guilty of analyzing the complexity of the problem and submitting to the populist upsurge in demand for very easy solutions. The state, the civil society, and the private sector really needs to come together. So we need to really question fundamentally about how value is created in society. We need to really question the purpose that directs businesses and organizations. There's a recent clamor to really put purpose at the center of organization. The British Academy has started a lot of stellar work, and the dean when I was in Oxford is the academic chair, Colin Meyer. They've recently come out with some formulations about 8 principles for purposeful business. They talk about purpose, they cross organizations. So Facebook will call about connecting people. British Petroleum becomes Beyond Petroleum. And then BlackRock, the private equity company, the Larry Fink, their CEO, who used to be the CEO, used to say that we need to really draw legitimacy from the social impact we create, and not merely filling the coffers of our shareholders. So why I know the burden of time is beginning to bear down upon me. So in closing, let me really reflect a bit about the mobilizing force of this call of VIKSIT Bharat. And if you really remember, any of you, how really space explorations started, most of you are too young. I was young then when Apollo landed. I wasn't even born for that matter. President Kennedy, he's a distant historical figure, but one of his stalwarts, called upon the collective imagination of India, of the US, with what he called moonshot. He set up that transcendent vision to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely in about a decade. The moonshot called for reimagining the moral possibilities of individuals and nation. Similar kinds of moonshots are required in these desultory times. The challenges are before us. They're glaring. They're daunting. Climate change. And we need to really think and be considerate about people and the planet both. So if in this discussion and through the earlier sessions, if I leave you with the lasting message that the occasion calls you to summon your creativity, your compassion, your courage, in a vision that's something larger than yourself, a transcendent vision, then you should consider your life well spent. The famous French, Cuban, American writer Anais Nin wonderfully puts it, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. So here is a clarion call, an exhortation for you to bring your courage to the grand ambition of VIKSIT Bharat. I leave you with these thoughts. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring and thought-provoking words. Your perspective has truly enriched us. Next, it gives us great privilege to introduce Professor Dr. Aharan Stapit, Professor and Dean, Faculty of Management and Law, Nepal Open University, Nepal. With a PhD in Management from Jawaharlal Nehru University, India, Dr. Stapit brings a rich blend of academic and practical expertise. Having previously taught at Tribhuvan University and held managerial roles in 2 foreign joint venture banks in Nepal, his extensive 15-year experience as senior associate editor of an English national daily and a stint with ZTZ has enhanced his real-world insights. Passionate about research, he is associated with editorial work of 7 peer-reviewed journals, including International Journal of Management Studies. Among his many achievements, Dr. Stapit is the recipient of prestigious Dean of International Peace Prize in 2019. Dr. Stapit's key area of interest include international business, human resource management, and strategic management. Sir, we welcome you to ascend the podium and grace us with your insights on today's conference. Please, sir.
All right, thank you, thank you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Aris Umar, sir. Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. MP Kaushik, sir. Pankaj Upadhyay, sir. And Professor Dr. Deepika Tomar, ma'am, of the MIT University, and Professor Dr. Mohammad Anwarul Kabir from Bangladesh, Dr. Pooja Jain, ma'am, and on all erudite scholars here in this hall, respected faculty members, dignitaries on and off the dais, and their paper presenters, session chairs, the dear students. So please have patience. I'm going to be very brief. So since we are running out of time, I would not speak much. I'm trying to make it very short. Well, as the curtains draw on this remarkable 11th International Conference on VIKSIT Bharat, role of Indian business, I stand here with a heart full of gratitude and inspiration. Today, in this conference, we gathered as individuals from diverse countries, diverse states of India, each with our own stories and own perspectives. But we all are united by a shared vision of fostering a brighter, more equitable future, socially responsible future through the transformative power of business, for which the role of academic institutions like universities have a strong role to play. Throughout the day, both during the formal sessions and on the sidelines, We all have engaged in profound scholarly discussions and exchanged ideas. And I'm thrilled to note that some of the ideas I received today are so brilliant, so innovative. And we also try to build bridges of understanding that transcends borders, beyond our borders, of course. So the energy in this auditorium, the commitment to collective progress, and the passion for intellectual exploration have been truly inspiring. I extend my heartfelt thanks to MIT University, Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior, for inviting me to this August gathering, and also for our outstanding organization of this conference. It has provided us with a platform to connect, collaborate, and learn. Sincere thanks would also go to your great hospitality in this historical city of Gwalior. To the paper presenters who brought their research to life, the session chairs who guided our discussions with wisdom, and to all participants whose active engagement enriched our dialogue. You all deserve accolades for your valuable contributions. Well, as we prepare to part ways after the conclusion of this conference, let us carry forward ideas, insights, and connections that we have gained here. May this conference not only mark the end, but also ignite new beginnings of collaborations, new beginnings of initiatives and solutions that propel us towards a developed India, a developed South Asia, and a prosperous global community. On behalf of all of us, I express my gratitude and admiration for everyone who made this day a resounding success. May we, thank you. Thank you. May we meet again in the spirit of knowledge and progress to continue this important journey. Thank you, MIT. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words. Your thoughts are honestly inspiring. It gives us great honor to introduce our esteemed guest of honor, Professor Dr. Muhammad Anwarul Kabir. Dr. Kabir is a seasoned academician currently serving as a professor in the Department of Accounting at the University of Chittagong. With 29 years of teaching experience, he has dedicated 24 years to the University of Chittagong and 5 years to the State University of Bangladesh, where he also held key administrative roles as Pro-Vice Chancellor and Vice Chancellor. Academically, Dr. Kabir began his journey at Notre Dame College, earning a DPI Merit Scholarship, followed by top honors in both his undergraduate and postgraduate studies in business administration at the University of Chittagong. He completed his PhD on corporate governance in Bangladesh through a Commonwealth split-site program with the University of Dundee, United Kingdom. Dr. Kabir has interests spanning corporate governance, finance, and strategic management. We request you to illuminate us, sir, and address the conference. Professor Dr. Anwarul Kabir, we request you to please begin. Please unmute yourself.
Sir, you are muted. Please unmute yourself. Sir, we request you to unmute yourself and begin the lecture.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Chair of the Valedictory session, the distinguished speakers, Professor Asharani, Professor Aman Agarwal, Professor Arup Swarup, Dr. Michael Koppel, Professor Arhan Sthapit, Mr. Pankaj Uday, Mr. Sandeep Magari, Professor Nilima Singh, distinguished professors of Amity University, beloved students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank Amity University for organizing a conference on such an issue, which is not only relevant to India, it is equally relevant to the developing nations, including Bangladesh. So from Bangladesh, I express my sense of thanks to the organizers because you considered me to be a speaker in the valedictory session. So this is certainly a very auspicious moment for me. Whenever we talk about the development of any nation, we have to go back to the history. And being a professor of public finance and strategic management, so I also love to map the evolution of the economic development process of any nation. So in this connection, I would like to present statistics for your kind consumption. You all know that the India once upon a time was not mere a country, it was a continent. This country was ruled by the British Raj for not less than 190 years. And if we look at the development process of India in those dark periods, we can reveal that back in 1950, the India's GDP was 347,850 million, while, Indian GDP in 1950 was 204,242 billion, while it was 60,500 back in 1500. It means in a span of 450 years, the Indian economy grown by 3.4 times. On the other hand, the British Raj that ruled us for 190 years, it had a very meager amount of economy back in 1500. It was $2,815 million. But in 1950, it became $348,850 million. And its economy in the span of 450 years had grown by 124 times. So I would like to convey personal information to you. So when I was pursuing my PhD in the United Kingdom, as a Commonwealth scholar, I had opportunity to visit a good number of palaces in the city of London, which was created during the Victorian age. And those posh buildings and sites were created at the expense of poor peasants of India. Back in 1757, India contributed 23% to the world economy, but when it became independent in 1947, India's contribution to world economy was mere 4%. So this simply tells you the story how we became poor from the richest nation of the world. So now let me turn my speech to the basic issue of the conference, VIKSIT Bharat. By VIKSIT Bharat, I mean 4 important things. The first one is economic prosperity. So far as economic growth is concerned, India has attained a tremendous success in the last 15 years during the regime of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and current Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi. The growth rate of economy is commendable. The India is going to be a prosperous nation. It is now 5th largest economy of the world, and later or sooner, this country is going to be the 3rd largest of the economy by superseding Germany and Japan. So, economic prosperity is more or less attained. The second point is social advancement. So, India is a federation of 29 states and some 8 territories governed by the center. So, in this country, the diversity is the beauty, because you will find the people from all religion in one country. The country speaks in more than 2,000 languages. And you know, the food habits of one state is different from the others. So in every 100 miles, India experiences a different thoughts and different culture. So if India wants to make development, it should be an inclusive one, which will include all the creeds, all the caste, and people from all walks of life. So I think to this aspect, India has to walk a long way. Third important point that comes to my mind when I talk about VIKSIT Bharat, it is the environmental sustainability. You all know that there is only one planet where biological elements can survive. It is the Earth. But unfortunately, China and India, these 2 countries are contributing a lot to environmental pollution. So let us take the instance of the biggest river of India, the Ganges. So it is one of the most polluted rivers of South Asia. And you know, we have got a share of water of the Ganges. If the water of the upper stream is polluted, that also affects the countries in the lower stream. And you know, air pollution, so this is happening in every nook and corner of the India. Many factories have been transferred from Western countries to developing nations. This is simply a trap, because I have no hesitation to say that the developed nations now want to live a very quality life at the expense of polluted life in the developing nations. The fourth point is effective governance. In the developing nations, one important drawbacks that everybody can find, that is, the poor people are denied of justice. So whenever we talk about effective governance, we must ensure that the justice is accessible to the people of all walks of life. It is accessible to the most vulnerable, most marginalized people of India. Apart from these important points, so I would like to tell you some important strengths of India that might lead India to VIKSIT Bharat. One of the important elements of our history is we once created, in undivided India, we once created the best educational institutions of the world. And these institutions essentially include Nalanda, Takshashila, and Vikramshila. So we have a glorious history to develop human resources, not only in India. The students from the other parts of the world used to come to India to get the light of the Indian philosophers. My second point is India has made its institutions very strong. If you compare those institutions to the other countries of South Asia. So I would like to take into consideration the case of Election Commission, the judiciary, the balance of power between the state government and federal government, etc. You know, in the last 77 years, India had been able to conduct free and fair elections, and shifting of power from one party to another happened very peacefully. And this was not even happened in the most developed nation of the world, I mean, in the United States. So India should be proud of that. Every Indian should be proud of that. Secondly, the judiciary is almost independent. The government might have something in its mind, but judiciary takes initiatives in such a way that justice can be happen. So people are getting justice. And you know, there is a balance of power between the state government and federal government. The state governments are elected by the state electorates, while the federal government is elected by all the voters of the India. There are two chambers of Indian Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. You know, in the upper house, Rajya Sabha, the representation of all the states is ensured. In Indian Constitution, there is a provision, Section 356, which allows the Honorable President of the Indian Federation to dismantle any state government. But I'm very much happy to note now that in the last 15 years, I did not find any case where the president applied Section 356. And another important strength is that India has developed a number of world-class educational institutions. I must give credit to the vision of first Prime Minister of Jawaharlal Nehru, who created Indian Institute of Technology and Indian Institute of Management. Later also, the different governments created a number of tech institutes and universities which are supplying very capable graduates, not only in Indian conglomerates, but also to Western multinational companies. Another important point that actually made India very prominent in the world economy, that is, India has been able to make a liberal economy. And this journey of liberalization started in 1991 when P.V. Narasimha Rao came into power. He is, in my opinion, an unsung hero. He asked his finance minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, to liberalize economy. At that time, the foreign exchange reserve was almost zero. But because of liberalization, many foreign countries entered into Indian territory for making business. And Indian businesses also become very competent because they had to compete with foreign multinational companies. And nowadays, the foreign exchange reserve of India is not less than $485 billion. And in this case, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and some other developing nations are suffering a lot. You know, a couple of years ago, Sri Lanka was not able to pay its dues to the
Sir, we
foreign.
request, sir, we request you to kindly wind up in 2 minutes. We are running short of time. Please, sir.
Okay. Okay. So what I want to take, I will take 5 minutes. So what I want to tell you, so nowadays, the India has become a very important partner of global economy. My second last point is the India has been able to supply the business leaders at the global level. So in this respect, I can mention some world famous names, which include Ajoy Banga, who is now the president of World Bank, Satya Nadella, who is now the CEO of Microsoft, Sundar Pichai, who is now the CEO of Google, Shantanu Narayan is now the Adobe CEO. Last but not the least, Arvind Krishna, who is now chair and CEO of IBM. So they all are graduated from India, either from IIT or from IIM. So there are other important leaders who are going to be emerged in the world economy and business. But still, I find some hindrances to the way India can take it to the highest stature. One day India can make it the developed nation. There are some hindrances. Number one is, as far as HDI, Human Development Index, the India ranks 134 out of 193 countries. That its score is 0.644. And so far as disparity of distribution of income and wealth is concerned, the India is also trailing.
We are grateful, sir, for sharing such valuable insights. Your words have given us much to reflect on.
It gives us great honor to introduce our esteemed chief guest for today's conference, Professor Dr. Ashu Rani, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Agra. Ma'am, we welcome you to the 11th International Conference. Now, I humbly request Professor Dr. R.S. Tomar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, MET University, Madhya Pradesh, to felicitate our esteemed chief guest for today's event. Sir, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. It gives us great honor to introduce our esteemed chief guest, Professor Dr. Ashu Rani. Professor Dr. Ashu Rani currently serves as Vice Chancellor of the Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Agra. With 3 decades of experience, she is a distinguished academician, researcher, and leader in Indian higher education. She has held key positions, including professor, director of research, and head of department of pure and applied chemistry. She has published 137 international papers, 19 national papers, and holds over 7 patents. Her research is globally recognized with collaboration with institutes such as National Institute of Standard and Testing in United States and KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden. She has led major research projects funded by DST, BRNS, and UGC and received several prestigious awards, including the Convention Award from Indian Chemical Society. In addition to her research, she has made significant contributions to academic administration and the enhancement of quality standards in Indian higher education. As a NEC assessor, she has played a key role in shaping certification processes, and she has actively participated in curriculum development and student welfare committees. Ma'am, we welcome you to the 11th International Conference and request you to grace us with your insights on today's conference. Please, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'm highly thankful to Dr. Pooja, who has contacted me for this function. And I'm very happy to see the August gathering of the students and faculty members sitting here. Everyone sitting on the dais, Professor R.H. Tomar, the Vice Chancellor of the University, MIT University, who is a man of biotechnology. I'm taking the name of the subjects also because I want to just say that the whole team who is sitting on the dais is already taking the country towards VIKSIT Bharat. So biotechnology, Professor M.P. Kaushik, who is Pro Vice Chancellor, is a man of chemistry. Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay, who is MD of an industry, Brickpoint Limited, who is functioning in the country as well as in Middle Asia. Professor Arhan Satapati, who is from Nepal and is a person of management. All the faculty members of this university and my dear students. I am so happy that the topic of this international conference chosen by the university is related to the VIKSIT Bharat and role of business in VIKSIT Bharat. For my dear students, I would like to tell you that there are 4 important components of VIKSIT Bharat. This is not that the country is not developing or we are not VIKSIT. We are already VIKSIT, but still we have to go long way. And why we have given a mission, or our Honorable Prime Minister has taken up, that we will be going up to VIKSIT Bharat in 1947, from 2047. Why? Because we are going to complete our 100 years of independence. 1947 to, we will be reaching to 2047. So we hope that within 100 years, from the developing country, we should reach up to the developed country. So what is the structure has been given by the administrators, or you can say the country leaders. Basically, the 4 components which are still not developed or yet to be developed as per the document of VIKSIT Bharat. They are, number 1, youth. Number 2 is women. Number 3 is farmers. And number 4, they are the underprivileged people or the poor people or those who are below the poverty line, or they are not considered to be developed because they are not having sufficient economic conditions, or they are not having the entire their structure or the education which can be considered under the developed society. So these are the 4 different components which we should consider when we are taking anything. And I am so happy that all the lectures which have been taken up today by the industrialists or by the faculty members or by the professors of different invited people from abroad as well as from the country they have already focused on the role of business in VIKSIT Bharat. Now, I just want to connect all the 4 components to business. Unless women are not taking up business into their hand, we can't be VIKSIT. We can't convert this country into VIKSIT Bharat. If we are not uplifting the poor people, if we are not educating the people, those who are not having education, the primary education even, we can't convert ourselves into the VIKSIT Bharat. If we are not focusing on the farmers, because whatever production has been done by our country, if it is not converted 100% into our export or into the business areas, we can't be developed. And the whole responsibility goes to the youth. If our youth is not having the power to gain skills, the power to be having the skills of entrepreneurship, the power to become a good businessman, a starting point, doing innovations, converting into the innovation into the businesses, we can't convert our country into VIKSIT Bharat. One of the most important part which country has taken up recently, that is national education policy. Our education policy is already having all the components which can convert our youth into a skilled person or a skilled man, who can take the responsibility of making our country into more and more entrepreneurships as well as business modules in different areas, which are still unexplored or underexplored in the country. The larger business school, you can say, the schools, business schools, they are already taking. And as per NEP, they are already developing all these students into the business people. But what our normal students who are not having any degree of MBA or they are not in the business line, can't they be converted into the business icons? This is a question. We have to change our mindset. If I am doing chemistry, I should think of making some areas with my knowledge in which I can earn and can start my own startup. Similarly, we can think of any subject. For that, I think the knowledge of intellectual property, which is also very, very important for every student to understand. We are losing our intellectual property. We are not taking our intellectual property, conserving our intellectual property, and converting that into a good copyright, a good patent, or converting it into transferring of our knowledge from lab scale to higher scale or to pilot scale or to scale up our knowledge. So these are some areas in which we have to focus. And I know that MIT University, I've seen already the profile and some of my friends they are teaching or they are associated with MIT University. I know I've seen your profile that you have a good number of patents. You are already doing a lot of innovations and converting your lab scale technologies into large scale or pilot scale technologies. So these are the areas, and I'm so happy that I'm being the part of this. The country has a lot of opportunities. We are lucky that we are in India. As number of population of country is more, the requirements of people are more. Number of areas in which we can work are more. And possibility of getting our businesses, besides, I think you all know about MSMEs who are supporting or funding. There are several funding schemes of government also who are supporting our students for incubations, for small businesses, for taking up businesses up to the larger scale businesses. I hope we have a lot of scope. But the most important is the change. We have to be game changing, and we have to change our mindset so that we can be in line with the VIKSIT Bharat scheme of our Honorable Prime Minister. I wish you all the best. I know this youth who is sitting, and for women also, because I wanted to say so many things. Unless women are not taking up this, that yes, we have to take control of financial knowledge. We have to take control of our intellectual property into our own copyrights, our own patents. We can't be the part of VIKSIT Bharat. I know that the country is going forward, and I'm hopeful that along with your mentors, with our leaders, with the government taking the maximum benefit of the government schemes, the day is not far that we will be called VIKSIT. Wish you all the best. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, ma'am. Your words are a powerful reminder of the potential we all hold to make a positive impact.
I'm pleased to share that for this conference, we have received over 250 research papers from esteemed universities and prestigious institutions worldwide, including Nepal Open University, IIT Roorkee, Christ University, Vellore Institute of Technology, and Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, to name a few.
We are delighted to present the conference proceedings, a comprehensive collection of the full research papers presented during this conference. This volume not only documents the valuable contributions of our participants, but also serves as a resource for future reference and research.
Now, we would like to request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly step forward in order to unveil the book of conference proceeding. We also request HOD Management, MET Business School, Dr. Astha Joshi, HOD Commerce, MET Business School, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Dwivedi, and the conveners of the conference, Dr. Pooja Jain and Dr. Umesh Gautam, to assign the days for the purpose of unveiling the book of conference proceeding. Please, sir. Please, ma'am. Thank you, dignitaries.
Considering the vitality of this theme, VIKSIT Bharat, two of our faculty members, Dr. Rajiv Dwivedi sir and Dr. Vivek Gupta sir, have authored an edited book titled Vision Bharat 2047, The Future Strategic Roadmap.
Now, I will request dignitaries on the stage to unveil the book and would also request Dr. Vivek Gupta sir to join us. Please, sir.
From the vast galaxy of papers received, only 220 papers were selected and presented in today's parallel sessions. After much deliberation and careful evaluation, the best papers were selected based on content, clarity, and validity by our esteemed panel of judges from each parallel session. We extend our heartfelt thanks to all the paper presenters for their invaluable contributions. We now humbly request all the honorable dignitaries present on the dais to reward our best paper winner. Please, ma'am. Please, sir.
We are proud to announce that the winners of the Best Paper Award for our offline sessions are Dr. Priya Sahani and Dr. Komal Rawat, Assistant Professors, Department of Commerce, St. Alois College. We are also delighted to announce that our winners from online tracks are from track 1, Rakshanda Dhanda. From track 2, Dr. Namrata Srivastav. From track 3, Shashi Yadav and Professor Naval Kishore. From track 4, Professor Dr. Shashis Antony and Dr. Sohani Pai Vaidya. From track 6, Dr. Pooja Jain. The certificates for the same will be shared online soon.
Thank you, dignitaries, and heartfelt congratulations to the winners. Gratitude is the heartfelt acknowledgement of the support and contributions that make something meaningful. Therefore, as a token of our gratitude, I kindly invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. R.S. Tomar, to present a memento to our esteemed chief guest, Professor Dr. Ashu Rani. Please, sir, please, ma'am.
We now request Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Research, Professor Dr. M.P. Kaushik, to present a memento of gratitude to our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay. Please, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, we request HOI MIT Business School, Professor Dr. Deepika Singh Tomar, to present a memento to our esteemed guest of honor, Professor Arhan Stapit. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, dignitaries.
Now,
it gives me great privilege in requesting Professor Dr. M.P. Kaushik, Pro Vice Chancellor Research and Dean Research and Director, Center of CBR and Mitigation, MIT University, Gwalior, to grace the conference by presenting his concluding remarks. Please, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Anshu Rani, Vice Chancellor of Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Agra, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay, Mr. Arhan Stapit, Professor R.S. Tomar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Government University, Madhya Pradesh, and my dear all faculty members, HOI, HODs, Dean, and my dear friends. At the outset, I must compliment the organizers for selecting this topic, that is VIKSIT Bharat and business perspective. This is the topic which has been debated most in the last 2 to 3 years, essentially because of the Honorable Prime Minister when he set the target that we have to make India as a VIKSIT Bharat by 2047. When he talked about VIKSIT Bharat by 2047 means that we should have the 5 trillion economy. As of now, India is among the largest economies of the world, where we stand on the 5th position, and by 2030, that is 2030, will become the 3rd largest economy in the world. So it means the target is set by the Honorable Prime Minister from the beginning itself, and that's what we are talking, transforming India into developed nation. Madam was just talking that it's not that we are talking about the VIKSIT Bharat. The idea of VIKSIT Bharat is not about economic development alone. It is the inclusive growth or inclusive development, whatever Madam told, the 4 factors or 4 parameters, which has to be taken into consideration. Until all the 4 are not being taken into consideration, that we cannot consider as a VIKSIT Bharat. I was giving a talk on the same topic, that is transforming India into VIKSIT Bharat and science and technology perspective. Since she mentioned about my subject as well as Dr. Thomas' subject, biotechnology and chemistry, I want to tell you that whatever we develop, whether we go manufacturing sector, whether we go any development, whether we go service sector, whether we go product sector, everything means business. So right now, as far as the science and technology is concerned, as I agree with Madam, that we are already developed nation, and there are few examples which I can quote. India, right now, India is being called the world pharmacy of the world pharmacy. India is the world pharmacy. So you can see that we are leading in that company. In case of IT sectors, we are also #1. In case of agriculture growth, initially we were importing, now we are exporting the products into this. Similarly, biotechnology, we have established unequivocally during the COVID times that some of the countries, including America, including some of the European countries, were going for a slowdown. Even some of the European countries still facing this problem, but India could sustain the crisis, and we could come out and then could show that whatever we can do, it means our economies are very strong. We are on the right track and on sound footings as far as the economic growth is concerned. There are so many sectors are there. Another, if I tell about the business, whatever you're all talking, every one you have the capability, every one of you have the capacity to contribute toward the economic growth or the development. We convert from the developed nation to the developing nation to that of a developed nation. No doubt we are already on the right track as of now, and by 2030 will be 3rd largest economy, and by 2047 will be the 5th largest economy by having the 5 million trillion economy. Now take an example of the electric vehicles. We are 3rd one in the whole world, than Germany and USA. And moreover, we are right now the most reputed one of the famous electric vehicles manufacturing, which is taking place in Pune. Similarly, other sectors, in case of textiles, woolen textiles, it means the manufacturing hub is Ludhiana. In case of agro-pharma industries, the Madhya Pradesh is also having the agro-processing industries. So it means a lot of industries are coming up. What I want to tell you that we have done sufficient growth or economic development we have taken place in terms of science and technology. But as far as business development is concerned, we have to look for inclusive growth, and inclusive growth will come, whatever just mentioned, the SMEs or the MSMEs are the backbone of any country. I have few figures, but I don't have the time to tell you that what are figures are there. The MSMEs are the backbone. As I mentioned, that this topic is most debated on TV channels. And what they're saying, unless we do not make it strong by the government participation, by the industry, by the regulators, those who are compliance regulators, until all of them will not join together, the growth which need to be take place in case of MSMEs, and particularly in manufacturing sector, the economy will not go to that extent which we are aiming at. So the Honorable Prime Minister as well as the Government of India is setting the target that yes, we have to have it and see to it that MSMEs should be given the growth. And now 2024, we have already seen 25% growth of MSMEs. We are doing the job creations, innovations, and at the same time, the community participation. Whatever Madam was mentioning, the community participation is very important of it. Until all the components of the society will not go up, then it will not called a VIKSIT Bharat. We want to see that everybody should be happy, should have an economic development, economic sustainability. Then only it will come up. So there are so many examples are there. For example, Make in India, as I mentioned about the electric vehicles. We are also following Germany as well as USA. So there are so many other sectors are there. And moreover, maximum job creation, if at all is to be done, 27 million jobs are being given by MSMEs. So MSMEs right now is the backbone, and which normally everybody talks. Madam also talked about the organized sector and unorganized sector. So that has to be taken care of. These are the few challenges are there, where the finances are there, the compliance, regulatory compliance need to be done. At the same time, industry has to come forward, which I think there's an ecosystem has already been established by the Government of India, and Honorable Prime Ministers there, and some of the industries are also participating. What is the advantage of MSMEs is the large corporates, they are normally in the metros, But whereas in case of MSMEs, they are spread across the country, and more than some figures are there, approximately 6,300 MSMEs are across all over India. They are contributing 27% growth of as far as the economic development is concerned, including all. So these are some of the things are there, and I'm sure that the already speakers from the morning, they have been discussing about the marketing, about the HR, about the general management, as well as the management in particular specific examples have been given. And all the speakers have given their insight, and all of you, I'm sure, would have got the benefit of all the lectures. And most of you, or some of you, definitely will start your own startup, and you will not be job seekers, but job creators. So this is what the whole example of making VIKSIT Bharat, until you will not become a job creators rather than job seeker. So I think your contribution has to go a long way if you participate in the game. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind guidance.
Now, we would like to invite convener of conference, Dr. Pooja Jain, Associate Professor, MIT Business School, to mount the podium and deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. I, Dr. Pooja Jain, convener of the conference, feel honored and privileged to deliver the vote of thanks on this special occasion of the 11th International Conference on VIKSIT Bharat, Role of Indian Business, organized by Amity Business School, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh. I, on behalf of entire fraternity of AUMP and on behalf of organizing committee, convey heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest in the inaugural ceremony, Professor Nilima Singh, former Vice Chancellor, University of Kota, Rajasthan, for her inspiring address that beautifully set the tone for the today's conference. Your insight and vision have provided great motivation to all of us. Thank you, ma'am. I extend my sincere thanks to our distinguished guest of honors in the inaugural ceremony, Professor Aman Agarwal, Director and Dean at Indian Institute of Finance, Mr. Sandeep Magavai, Learning and Knowledging Leader at IBM, Professor Aran Stapit, Dean, Faculty of Management and Law, Nepal Open University, Mr. Anup Sarup, Chairman, Center for Global Non-Killing, Hawaii, and Founder Chairman, Global Knowledge Alliance, Australia, and Dr. Michael Capel, Director of Higher Education Consulting, for your thoughts-provoking speech that added immense value to this event. I express my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest in the valedictory ceremony, Professor Ashu Rani, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Agra, for her inspiring address. Your insights and vision have provided great motivation to all of us. Thank you, ma'am. I extend my sincere thanks to our eminent guest of honor, Mr. Pankaj Upadhyay, Managing Director, India and Middle East and Brickpoint Limited, Professor Aran Stapit, Dean, Faculty of Management Law, Nepal Open University, and Professor Muhammad Anwarul Kabir, former Vice Chancellor in State University of Bangladesh, for their inspiring address that added immense value to this event. I am deeply grateful to our Honorable Chancellor and Chairman, Dr. Aseem Chauhan, for his guidance and support, which has been instrumental in making this conference a grand success. My sincere thanks goes to Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Lieutenant General V.K. Sharma, Ati Visis Seva Medal, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. R.S. Tomar, and Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor Research and Dean Research, Professor Dr. M.P. Kaushik, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior, for their encouragement and leadership that inspire us every day. Thank you, sir. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our HOI, Professor Dr. Deepika Singh Tomar, along with HODs, Dr. Asta Joshi and Dr. Rajiv Dwivedi, for their priceless guidance and support. I sincere thanks to our organizing team, faculty member, scholars, and volunteers whose dedication and planning ensure the seamless execution for this event. A special mention goes to the IT support team for their technical assistance, which enables smooth participation in both online and offline mode. My thanks also goes to Director Admin and his team for always support. To our paper presenter, researchers, and delegates from across India and the globe, your contribution have enriched this conference with diverse perspective and innovative idea. Thank you for your active participation. But last but not the least, I thank all the sponsors for their valuable support, which have been pivotal in making this event possible. As we conclude this conference, I hope it has been a meaningful and insightful experience for everyone. Let us carry forward the discussion and idea from today to contribute to the vision of VIKSIT Bharat. Thank you once again for being a part of this conference. Happy learning and have a great evening. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you everyone for your kind patience. We would request our dignitaries to join us for high tea in VIP lounge. Please.